Starting off our countdown at number 10 is Steve Harvey's hosting flub. When thinking about hosting the award ceremony of a competition show, the biggest fear you might have is announcing the wrong winner. Well, just ask Steve how that goes, because that is exactly what he did when hosting the 2015 Miss Universe pageant. Even his years of experience was not enough to stop this from happening. If you missed the most cringeworthy moment in pageant history, what happened was he went to announce the winner but accidentally said the wrong person. He was just reading from a card and didn't notice it until after the whole crowd and the wrong Miss Universe was already celebrating her win.
I have to apologize.
He then had to announce to everyone that she wasn't actually the winner. He came under a lot of fire for the mistake, and people were even booing him while he was on stage trying to fix everything. They had to awkwardly remove the crown from Miss Colombia and then put it on Miss Philippines' head, and it was just so brutal to watch. Steve, of course, took full responsibility and admitted that he read the card wrong, saying he announced the first runner-up instead of like the first place winner. Why would they word it like that though? Like that is like asking for a mistake to be made. Moving on to number 9, we have Jennifer Lawrence falls down. No one wants an embarrassing moment to happen to them at one of the biggest award shows in the world, the Oscars. But Jen couldn't get out of this one, and even though it was embarrassing, she handled it like a total champ. It was at the Oscar Awards when she was called up on stage to receive the Best Actress award for her role in Silver Lining Playbook. That's a moment that every artist probably dreams about and then plans out in their head, like what they're gonna say when they win the award. She could have rehearsed winning the award as many times as she wanted, but it still wasn't enough to prevent her fall from happening. That is right, as she was walking up the stairs to the stage to get her award, she tripped and fell down. She ended up just staying on the stairs for a few moments, like just laughing to herself and covering her face, probably thinking about how she's gonna react to that. After the award, she explained what happened and said that she remembers her stylist telling her to kick and walk, meaning kick the dress out while you walk, and she got distracted and forgot. The dress tucked under her feet and she went down. It was kind of game over from there. Sliding into number 8 is the famous Chrissy Teigen meme. Now, if you ask me, becoming a meme wouldn't be all that bad. I think that really shows you made it. Well, Chrissy is the queen of memes after her face turned into one of the biggest ones in the entire world. Even without showing the picture, you probably already know which face I'm talking about because it's known as being the meme face now. No one else could laugh it off the way Chrissy did, who is always a good time when it comes to the internet and what people have to say about her. So why did she become a meme though? Well, during the 2015 Golden Globes, her husband, John Legend, was on stage performing one of his love songs that he wrote about her. Of course, the camera was on her so we could see her reaction to this performance, but it seemed to just catch her at a really bad moment. It was supposed to be this beautiful and romantic moment, but when the camera caught her, it looked like she'd smelled something like really bad and she looked absolutely disgusted. She later said that she was trying to hold back tears and that the timing of the camera was just horrible. In spot number 7 is John Travolta cannot say a name. Now, I'm no one to judge, I mispronounce names on this channel all the time. If you're a regular, then you know that. But this is a whole lot worse because this happened in front of a huge audience and the world at the 2014 Oscar Awards. He was in charge of introducing an artist performance during the show, and Idina Menzel was going to perform her iconic song, Let It Go, from the Disney movie Frozen. But when he went to announce her performance, he said a totally random name, Adele Dazeem, and it left people super confused and slightly embarrassed. More than slightly. Good news is she went on to win the Oscar for Best Original Song. He apologized to her after the show, and the two of them went on to make a joke out of it at future Oscar award shows. So it all worked out in the end. Making our way into number 6 is Nicole Kidman's clap. Hopefully we can all agree that one of the best parts of award shows is the camera capturing the reaction of the audience members throughout the show. We love to see how people react to other people winning, or how the loser in the category reacts to their loss. But sometimes these cameras capture the strangest reactions, and Nicole Kidman's is one of them. The actress started making really strange headlines after the 2017 Oscar Awards. The headlines were talking about how she looked like a seal clapping in the audience at the show. Video clips showed her in the audience next to her husband Keith Urban, and she stood up from her chair and clapped at those who were standing on stage receiving their awards. While that sounds like a normal and a very nice thing to do, she made it weird by clapping with her fingers pointed to the sides away from each other, and her hands weren't actually clapping. She was clapping like the air. This is what it looked like, no lie. Her fingers were like this, and she was clapping like this. They weren't even touching. It was so weird. Nicole later explained herself though and said it was because she was wearing a huge ring that was not hers and she didn't want to damage it. I get that's smart, but like weird. Halfway through our list, at number 5 is Rami Malek takes a tumble. Definitely an embarrassing moment for someone who has been in the Hollywood game for a while now. His role as Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody put him on the map, and he was nominated for numerous awards at the 2019 Oscar Awards. Good news is he did walk away with a few wins to his name. Bad news is he walked away with some bruises too. Both bruises on his body and probably a bruise on his ego as well, because this was embarrassing. As he made his way to the stage to collect his award, it seemed like he was in a hurry back to his seat for some reason. He was rushing off the stage and totally fell off the stage somehow, tumbling to the ground. It's one thing to fall like on the Oscar stage, like trip, and it's another to fall off of it. Why are you even walking that close to the edge? I don't know. In spot number 4, we have Mariah Carey, a little too tipsy. I totally understand why some people would want to have a few drinks to shake the nerves before going up and giving a big acceptance speech. I would probably be wasted. But Mariah might have had one too many. At the 2010 Palm Springs International Film Festival, she won the award for Breakthrough Actress for her role in the movie Precious. I'm sure she had planned to win her award graciously, but that seemed more difficult than usual because she was a bit too tipsy. You could tell she had been drinking the minute she started talking. What made matters even worse was that the director of the movie was up on stage with her when she was trying to give her speech, and he did not look very impressed. Mariah ended up addressing the fact that she was drunk during her speech and apologized, saying that it was all the splashes of champagne she had on an empty stomach. Rookie mistake. Taking over our 3rd spot is Kanye West takes the mic. I don't really think I need to even explain this one. Just by saying that, I think you already know what incident I am talking about. But just for the fun of it, and because it's my job, let's take a trip down memory lane. Back at the 2009 MTV Awards, Kanye shocked the audience when he walked up on stage and interrupted Taylor Swift's acceptance speech. Not only did he interrupt it, but he grabbed the mic from her hand and then gave his own speech instead. In his speech, he told everyone how he thinks Beyonce should have won the award for her music video Put a Ring on It, saying that it was one of the best videos of all time. The whole audience was in complete shock, including Beyonce, who looks completely mortified throughout the entire thing. But don't worry, it was not her fault. She even made it up to Taylor by calling her up during her acceptance speech and letting Taylor finish her own speech. Beyonce was actually the one to apologize, even though she didn't do anything. Kanye never apologized, which does not surprise me. Cruising into our number 2 spot is Madonna's Big Fall. This one is a little harder to watch than the other falls we've seen on this list. This was not just a little trip and fall, it was incredibly painful to watch for a few different reasons. Not only was it incredibly embarrassing, but it also looked incredibly painful. It was at the 2015 Brit Awards when she wore a cape during her performance which tied around her neck. In her choreography, she was supposed to walk up the stairs and her dancers at the bottom were going to pull the cape off of her. But when they went to do that, the cape was tied too tight around her neck and it wouldn't come undone, so when they yanked the cape down the stairs, she came with it. It literally strangled her from behind and caused her to fly backwards down the stairs and crash to the ground. She ended up hitting her head on the ground and got whiplash from the fall. She was okay, no serious injuries, but she later admitted that she would never perform in a cape ever again. Earning our number 1 spot is Ryan between Seacrest and his self-promotion. Now, a little bit of self-promotion is not a horrible thing, but there is a time and place to do it, and the Oscars probably is not that time. From one perspective, it's the perfect time since the promotion would be huge. From another perspective, it's not very classy. A little bit tacky. Ryan had no problem with it and used his hosting opportunity to his advantage. At the 2019 Oscar Awards, he was interviewing celebrities, asking them who they were wearing so they could shout out the designers. What they usually do. But Ryan went a bit overboard and used a lot of his screen time to plug his new suit line. It was so tacky that everyone talked about it after the show, and Twitter was filled with jokes about it. Most people who watch the red carpet shows at the Oscars want to hear about the world's biggest designers, but Ryan wanted people to know that he had a new suit line. He even went as far as telling the camera like where they could buy it from. It was cringeworthy.
And at number 10, Cara Delevingne.
You do seem a bit irritated. Perhaps it's just us.
Yeah, I think it's just you.
This interview was an absolute train wreck, and because it felt like the interviewers were constantly disrespecting Cara, she was in savage mode the whole time. The interview started off with her being referred to as Carla. Yikes. Cara was being interviewed to promote the new movie Paper Towns with Good Morning Sacramento. I think the interviewers didn't mean to offend her with their questions, but Cara is clearly very sarcastic, so when she tried to be sarcastic, they took it as being rude, and then Cara got irritated as the questions became even more rude, so it was just really a downward spiral. The worst part was when another guy hopped into the interview and flat out asked her why she can't be more enthusiastic. Then someone else chimed in, quote, "You seem a little irritated. We'll let you go take a little nap and maybe get a Red Bull." Cara then decided to walk off in the middle of the interview, and I really can't blame her. And at number 9, Tyra Banks.
Okay, ready? Pretty version
I'm gonna try to grab him, okay?
No, what
Okay,
if he
ready?
jumps on me? No,
Oh, hold on. Ready? I'm gonna hold him right on my lap. There we go.
Oh my god, I don't like him either. I don't really like him either. Oh my god, he's scared.
In 2007, during an episode of The Tyra Banks Show, Tyra ended up completely embarrassing herself after an animal expert brought out a porcupine. I'm not sure if producers knew that she hated porcupines or if it was a coincidence, but once the animal was brought out, Tyra decided to get away from it by sitting on top of her couch. But the couch ended up disconnecting, tipping over, and Tyra fell to the ground. Everyone had a good laugh while the guests helped her up. It seemed that the porcupine wasn't really a threat at all, and it really didn't care that the whole debacle even happened. It was just sitting there eating its treats. Honestly, adorable. And at number 7, Danny DeVito. This one is pretty embarrassing, but more so adorable. This interview took place on The View, and it's hard not to crack a smile while watching it. The interview actually starts with DeVito admitting that he was hungover AF as he was out drinking with George Clooney the night before. Humble brag, I see. He also said he had 7 limoncellos right before the interview and that they were finally catching up to him. He then starts talking about President Bush and making crazy facial expressions and noises to imitate him. Then when he literally looks like he's either gonna fall asleep or pass out, Rosie O'Donnell brought him over to cuddle. I'm sure he was embarrassed after this, but it just made me love him even more. And at number 6, Vin Diesel.
She's so beautiful. I'm in love. I'm in love with the interview.
This has to be my favorite interview moment of all time, and if you watch the Age3 podcast, you've probably already seen it. The interview went down in 2016 at the Comic-Con experience in Brazil. The actor sat down with Brazilian journalist Carol Morena to promote his upcoming film, XXX Return of Xander Cage. But I don't think he actually said anything about the film, because the entire interview he was just talking about how the reporter looked. Basically, right in the beginning of the interview, he blurts out, quote, "God, you're so beautiful." Then talking to the crew, he added, quote, "My God, she's so beautiful, man. Am I right or wrong? Look at her. How am I supposed to do this interview? Look at this woman. She's so beautiful. Talk to me, baby." And trust me, that's literally the tip of the iceberg. The reporter talked about the experience in a YouTube video where she said that she didn't know how to react to his advances, so she basically just laughed the whole time. This one is honestly impossible to watch without cringing. Halfway at number 5, Dakota Johnson. You all should know about this cultural reset by now, because this interview kicked off Ellen DeGeneres' downfall. The interview kicks off normally with Ellen asking about Dakota's 30th birthday party. Ellen asked how the party was because she wasn't invited. Without a second thought, Johnson claps back, quote, "Actually no, that's not the truth, Ellen." Then going on to say how she made a point to invite Ellen after Ellen gave her a ton of crap about not inviting her the year before. with Dakota adding, quote, "Ask everybody, ask Jonathan, your producer." Then Ellen's producer confirmed she was invited, with Ellen responding, quote, "Why didn't I go? Oh yeah, I had that thing. The party was probably in Malibu. That's too far for me to go." The interview managed to somehow get even worse when they started talking about Tig Notaro, and Dakota said that Tig was her favorite comedian, making the interview even more uncomfortable to watch. And at number 4, the Kardashians. This interview is so legendary, I'm sure you've seen it memed online. Everyone always asks what the Kardashians are famous for, and the common answer is that they're famous for being famous. But things got ugly when Barbara Walters asked the same question to the Kardashians. While Barbara Walters was interviewing the Kardashian family as a part of her 10 Most Fascinating People 2011 special, she just said what we were all thinking. While talking with the family, she asked, quote, "You don't act, you don't sing, you don't dance, you don't have any, forgive me, any talent." And the Kardashians definitely did not disagree that they don't have talents, but Khloe did kind of clap back, adding, quote, "But we're still entertaining people." Awkward. And finally, number 1, Jimmy Fallon. This one's a mix of embarrassing and endearing. While Nicole Kidman was on the Jimmy Fallon show, they were reminiscing about the last time that they met. When they were both going over their version of the night, Kidman ended up admitting that she had a huge crush on Fallon at the time, and she even asked their mutual friend to set them up on a date, which was the time that they actually met up. However, Fallon had no idea it was a setup. He thought it was just some sort of, business conversation, so he was a perfect gentleman and never made a move. Throughout the entire interview, Jimmy is realizing that he had a shot at Nicole Kidman, but totally blew it. Kidman even said she assumed that he was gay when he didn't make a move on her.
At number 10, Mariah Carey. Even though Mariah is still our skinny legend queen of the holidays, that doesn't just make her exempt from embarrassment. Mariah has had plenty of embarrassing moments over the years, but the majority of those cringe moments take place on stage when everyone is watching and some are filming the entire thing unfold. One of her cringiest moments happened back in 2016 during her New Year's Rockin' Eve performance. During this live performance, Mariah had a bit of a malfunction and it messed up the entire show. All night they had been teasing a huge performance from the singer as they rang in the new year, and at the very end of the night, she finally took the stage and didn't sing a single note. When she got out to perform and the music started playing, she just stood there, frozen. And she said that she couldn't hear anything in her earpiece. As the music played for the audience, Mariah's dancers kept on going in the background as was rehearsed, and she even shared her microphone with the audience, getting them to sing for her, but nothing ever came out of her own mouth. A lot of people were left disappointed by this performance because they were hyped up and Mariah just didn't deliver, and it got a lot of fans wondering why she didn't sing even though there was music playing. Some people think that this is proof that she's been lip syncing, but regardless of that theory, it was still a super embarrassing moment. At number 9, Rob Kardashian. The Kardashians have certainly had their fair share of embarrassing moments. Many of them have been caught on camera while filming their reality show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but many of their cringy moments also happen on social media. Most Kardashian cringe comes from the famous sisters, but back in 2012, Rob Kardashian had an embarrassing moment of his own. The Kardashian brother took to Twitter because he had some pretty exciting news to share with his followers, but this message sort of fell flat and ended up with him taking a one-way trip to Cringe City. He sent out a tweet telling his fans that he was going to law school soon, saying, quote, "Going to law school very soon and so excited and can't wait. School just never ends. Hashtag University of Southern Cal, hashtag Trojans, hashtag fight on." No one had any reason to believe that this was fake because why would you lie about going to school? But soon the school itself had to come out and set the record straight for everyone. The school tweeted saying Rob hadn't even applied to USC Law, and they even tagged some big news outlets in their tweets so they could finally set the record straight. No one really knows what went on there, but it was really embarrassing. Now before I carry on with our list, I would like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. At number 8, Doug Williams. Imagine getting up in front of an audience just to get absolutely roasted by someone. This isn't an uncommon thing as celebrity roasts are pretty popular, but it's different when you're not the one who's supposed to be getting roasted. This happened with comedian Doug Williams as he was invited to be part of a comedy roast and it was super embarrassing. Doug here was invited to be part of the lineup at Shaq's All-Star Comedy Roast of football player Emmitt Smith. He was part of a pretty good lineup of other comedians, so the pressure was really on to do well in front of his peers. That night, after being introduced by host Jamie Foxx, he started his set. After a few punchlines, Jamie started to chime in, interrupting Doug and putting him in the hot seat rather than Emmett. Jamie started mocking Doug's jokes and punchlines and really just roasted him relentlessly. It was a lot to take in, especially for Doug, who wasn't expecting the tables to be turned like that. That moment was not only incredibly embarrassing, but also pretty career-altering, and Doug just wasn't the same since. At number 7, Khloe Kardashian. Now, we just talked about one Kardashian, and like I said, they've all had their embarrassing moments, so let's talk about a recent cringe moment from Khloe Kardashian. Recently, Khloe had an oh crap moment after an unedited photo of her was accidentally posted to social media. Now, she and her sisters have had many embarrassing photo moments, but this was seemingly a huge deal to Khloe because it hadn't been edited and she wasn't looking perfect. The post was quickly circulated on the internet before it was finally taken down, and Khloe and her team have been trying to cover it all up since. Khloe takes her public image very seriously and says that she's insecure and embarrassed by that photo because of how she's portrayed. She also sees this unedited photo as pretty damaging because people always see her as perfect, and straying from this could hurt her image. Now, I don't think that this photo is nearly as embarrassing as others that she's posted. In fact, I don't think it's embarrassing at all. The only cringe that I find here is the fact that she doesn't even post her own things because this was all done by one of her assistants. At number 5, Robert Downey Jr. Here's a story that I haven't been able to get out of my head, and it's oh so cringy and hilarious. Do you remember last year when there was a debate going on online where people were trying to determine who was Hollywood's worst Chris? Well, when it came down to it, a lot of people said that Guardians of the Galaxy actor Chris Pratt was the worst Chris. In a show of support for his MCU brethren, Robert Downey Jr. came in to defend Chris, and he did so by posting a photo of him and Chris together. It was a nice wholesome moment until fans realized that this photo looked pretty familiar, and then realized that there was something missing, and then realized that the thing that was missing was in fact Tom Holland. RDJ was then promptly exposed for photoshopping Tom out of his photo. It was super embarrassing, but also so funny. You just can't Photoshop my darling Tom out of things. At number 4, Tom Holland. But speaking of my darling Tom Holland, I think we all know where I'm going with this. Tom here is the king of leaking things on his social media, and it's always so embarrassing to watch happen. Tom seems to have gotten the hang of his social media thing lately, but there was a time when everyone would search Tom's posts and Instagram stories for new information on upcoming MCU films just because he was so notorious for leaking sensitive information. There was a time where he accidentally revealed the title of the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel, Far From Home, and there's also that time when he showed off the unreleased posters for Avengers Infinity War, although a lot of people thought that one was actually staged. There was even a time when Tom's social media accidents were so common that when a rumor started going around that Tom had accidentally uploaded the entire Avengers Endgame film to Twitter, he actually believed it because it sounded like something he would do. He also needs to be chaperoned while doing interviews about MCU projects because of how many times he has almost spoiled things. Each accidental leak is super embarrassing, but we just can't be upset with him. At number 3, Dakota Johnson. 50 Shades actress Dakota Johnson is pretty used to having her body exposed to the public, but that doesn't mean that it isn't embarrassing when that sort of thing happens unexpectedly. She once had an embarrassing wardrobe malfunction while at an award show, and coincidentally it happened when she was accepting an award for her role in one of the 50 Shades movies. At the People's Choice Awards in 2016, she went up on stage to accept her award, and when she went in to hug the presenter, one of the straps of her crop top snapped, and she had to do some quick thinking to hold up her top with one hand while taking her award in the other. Luckily, she got some help from the presenter and other people who were up on stage with her, but it was still slightly embarrassing. Luckily though, she was able to laugh it all off, as the first thing she said when she walked up to the microphone was, quote, "It's not like no one here has already seen my boobs." Good one, Dakota. And finally, at number 1, Tristram Shapiro. Here's a story to remind you to always be mindful of your surroundings when talking trash. I'm kidding, don't talk trash about people unless you want to be caught in an embarrassing moment like director Tristram Shapiro. The director was exposed after Euphoria star Lucas Gage posted about how a director was mocking his LA apartment during a Zoom audition. A clip of this embarrassing moment was shared on social media, and it showed Tristram talking about how crappy Lucas's apartment apartment was. The director didn't realize that he wasn't muted when making his comments, and Lucas heard everything and called him out for it. There is no doubt that Tristan was embarrassed in that moment when he realized what happened. He did issue an apology for his remarks, but man, I am cringing just thinking about it.